Okay, again, last class, if you haven't done it yet, we're mostly going to be using a program called Xcode. I have put the Xcode in my doc down here. If your Xcode is not in your doc, see it down here? It has like a little hammer and a whatever blue grid thing. That is the program we're primarily going to be using. To use that program, we're going to go to the, if you don't have it in your doc, again, you can open up your hard drive, go to the applications folder, and towards the very bottom, since it starts with X, you'll see it says Xcode here. If you want it in your doc, you simply hold your left mouse down and drag it into your doc, and it'll put it in your doc. Now, I already have it in my doc, but I'm just pointing out on the computer, some of you are new today. If you don't have Xcode, you need to go and open up the hard drive, go to applications, find the program Xcode, and you can drag it in your doc, and it'll always be there. So let's get started. After I'm done the demo, I'll make sure I'll show you where to download the book too as well. I'll go back to that. I don't want to do that right now. I want to get started because we're already in the mood to make Nathan Explosion. Okay, so here we go. To start the program, you'll see it's right here. If I click on it, it'll start up. This is what it looks like when you first starting screen. Again, I have just some testing things I did the other day and what we're doing. Even when you do the playground, it wants you to save the file. But we're not going to use playground today. Today is a little bit different. We're going to use the Xcode project. It's right here. It's the second link in this window. If you click on that, it'll come up with a bunch of windows. Now in these windows, it's kind of asking you what you want to make. Hey, look, there's a tab app. We said we're going to make something like that. Look, there's a tab app right there. And of course, there's augmented reality. There's all kinds of different apps that you could make. I would say probably 80% of the time we'll be using this single view. That's where you start with one screen, and then you can make another screen and another screen as you go along. So that's primarily most of the things. If you do the game one, it has some special game things to it. Which makes it easy to make a game. The reason why they're giving you these options is so that the app that you make is streamlined. It's only going to load kind of the basic user interface concepts or resources for that, the one you choose. Like, right, if I choose single view, I don't need all the gaming sprites. Usually the stuff in games are called sprites. That's where you use little pieces and you put them onto your game. You know, I'm making a simple app. Do I need all that stuff loaded into my app? No. So the reason why they have these different options here is so that the app only loads the resources it needs. This is a very basic resource-driven one. Makes the app fast. Remember how we were talking about programming last class, how fast, efficient, remember those terms that they were using? And one way they do that is by only loading things you want. Again, you'll notice up here as well, you see it says Watch OS, TV OS, Mac OS, cross-platform. And again, it's only loading the resources. Since I only have iOS, which is the phone, and the iPad, it's only going to load the resources for those devices right here. Right? I don't need the resources for the desktop. That's why it's like this. If you hit next, it's going to want a name. You can add a name, put in there. We're doing a person, which I'm going to call mine person. Now it puts in student because the student is the name of the computer you're at. You can also add an account. We don't have to do that today, but later on you should have an. Once we get settled in this room, you start sitting at the computer you want to sit at and things like that. You can add your Apple ID in there, and it'll then associate with the apps you're making with your Apple ID. Yes?
Which of the applications did you use?
The first one, the single one. Down here, you'll notice it's asking you what programming language you want. You'll notice you can do both Swift or Objective-C. When they first started doing these app design, they started Objective-C. Objective-C is not a brand new language. It's basically came out of Next. I don't know if it was this class or another class I was talking about Next. When Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, he went and started Next. And Next was kind of a revolutionary computer, and that's what you're using today. You're using basically Steve Jobs' Next computer, but he had a kind of a newer language that he wanted Next to do, and it was called Objective-C. It's still used today in a lot of things, but they wanted to make it even simpler, so they went to Swift. And so Swift is basically this thing called Objective-C, but it's a streamlined version of it. And I have some more Swift info as we go along. Let's not worry about that. We could just leave this as default. Let's move on. It's gonna ask you where you're gonna save it. I'm gonna put mine on my desktop inside where I have my photos. And so you can go and choose your folder. If you have photos, if you don't have photos, don't worry about it. Just go along. You can make boxes or go and download some photos or whatever you want. Remember last class I also said how this works with GitHub. So if you're working with a team of people using the GitHub system, you can click here and you can have your login, and all the people within your team working on the same app can see the app as you're working on it. And as you make a change, you can upload it to GitHub and so on. So it's right here. We're not going to do that right now. If it's checked, I just checked it. I'm going to hit create, and it's going to come up with this. Okay, so this is basically the Swift interface. It doesn't look visual quite yet, but it will look visual. It starts off with, you'll see these things over here. On the left side, this is the default programming that it made for you automatically. Most of the programming do will be put into the viewer controller. That thing up there where it says viewer controller right there. Most of the programming that you do for what you put on the screen. We're not going to do any programming today, but when we do get to doing programming, remember most of it's going to go into where it says viewer controller, because that's the programming for the screen, hence the word view. When we make the screen here, this is called a view, and then we'll have subviews. As we put pieces on here, we'll have subviews, and so on. So most of the programming will be in the view controller. The main storyboard is the visual part. When you click on that, you'll see a screen there, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm just pointing it out. Assets is where you're going to store all your pictures, your sound, your animations, and things. It's like a folder where you store all your assets, hence the word assets. So if you want a sound, you store it in assets. You want a picture, store it in assets, so on. Launch screen storyboard, I don't know. The info P list is a way to control rights and things like that. Like when we get to doing a web access app, we're going to do an app where it needs to go to the internet, grab some data, and bring it into your app. The problem you're going to run into is that the computer's going to say, hey, that's kind of illegal because, there could be a virus out there, right? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to open up that info plea list file, and in there we're going to have to change some files to give rights to your app to talk to the internet. So there's some special things in there, in here, they're kind of all the same. Again, we'll add a team account here. Right now it's giving you an error message because you don't have a team person. But it'll still let us build the project. Device is universal. What do you think we're going to choose? Remember I said we're going to do iPhone only? I'm going to change that to iPhone. I don't care about iPad right now. I just want to work with an iPhone. See it right here where it says devices? I'm going to change that right there to iPhone. I'm going to make an iPhone only app. Okay? And then this is just orientation. It says portrait and so on. When we get to testing, we'll be able to rotate it and things like that. So let's just leave it like that. And then all these other we can leave default. So the only thing I'm changing in the screen is just going to say I'm on iPhone only. You don't have to do this, but just listen for a moment. If you click on capabilities, you'll see this big window here. And you can click on it if you want, but I'm not going to change anything in here right now. Here's, again, a way of streamlining the app, where if you're not using something, you don't turn it on. Right? If I'm not using Wallet, I'm not going to turn it on. See how everything says off right there? But notice when we get to doing things like, we will be turning on, especially for maps. One of the first things I'm going to show you, as far as programming-wise, is how to get a map, the Apple Map, and put the Apple Map on in your screen, and then we'll put a location. You'll be able to put locations on that map. So in order to do that app, we're going to have to turn this on. And what that does is it makes it universal have access. Hey, you've got access to those resources. Right there, you see it? In a network and things like that. So some of these you might have turned, you want to talk to your app, you turn Siri on. So just think about that. It was under capabilities right here. And the rest we don't have, I'm not going to go through all of them right now. We're going to run out of time. The next thing I want you to do is go right to the main storyboard file right here. It looks right here. It says main storyboard. Click on that. Boom, you'll see a visual version. This is what your screen looks like. This is mimicking what is on your phone. This is basically the phone screen. I don't know where my phone is. There it is. There we go. It's the visual representation of your phone. It's called a view controller, and it basically tells the program, hey, let's make a view on my phone. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drag pieces on there. So let's just get started dragging pieces on there. To drag a piece onto my view controller, you want to go all the way into the lower left corner and make sure the little circle with the square is selected down here. And this app has a lot of different icons. Like if I click on this little page thing right here, it's going to show me some classes. We don't know what classes are yet, but as we learn more programming, we'll understand what that means. This one shows blocks of content. This one shows, like I said, visual stuff. And then this one shows, I don't know, this is as you build objects, you can store them in there. This is the one I primarily use for visual. Do you see the one with the circle and square? Do you see that?
The default menu didn't bring up the identity and the localization.
Do you see anything on the left side?
Yeah.
So if I go like this, you can see everything on the left side?
I have the identity and localization, but I just, no, I have controller. I see it.
So we already have one view controller. Notice the first one right here called says view controller. So when we make a second screen, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to do dragging this out. But let's not do that yet. We haven't finished our first one. First thing we're going to do is put our title up there, right? Our person's name. That is going to be called a label. You go down here where there's a little, it looks like there's a little search box. Do you see it at the bottom right there? See a little search box? It's all the way down at the bottom here. So you all look down here. See the little search box right here? Type in the word label. Label. L-A-B-E-L. Label. Comes up with a label. Label is text. Usually one line of text. I like to use labels. They claim, that label can have multiple lines, but I have struggled with that. I struggle with the word wrapping and things like that. So I use a text box. There's another one called a text box. I tend to use that more often. So I'm going to take this label that shows up here. I'm going to hold my left mouse down and I'm going to drag it onto my screen here. As I move it around the screen, you'll see a little plus shows up, and you'll see as I'm moving it around, notice how there's little blue lines. What are those blue lines saying? Hey, it's in the center. Do you see that? Or if I get towards the top, what do you think that blue line is? Anybody guess what that blue line is? It's for that junk that goes at the top of your phone, right? Remember the AT&T and all that's battery is above that line, so it's telling you, it's warning you. Don't put anything above that line, it's going to go up there. So that's what they're telling you. Here's another one. Drag down towards the middle, right about there. Oh, look at that. Center of the screen. All right? See how that? So it's giving you some references. I'm not going to put this in the center. I'm going to put it all the way at the top, underneath that there, right there where it is. And I'm going to type in my person's name. To type in my person's name, you could double click on it. It turns to blue, and you type in your person's name. Mine is Nathan Explosion. Explosion, T-S-I-O-N, Explosion. Notice one thing you'll see is that it's typing to the left. You see that? Okay, so it's kind of left align, right? It's not center align. And watch another problem you run into. Soon as after I type in my name and I deselect, it stays in that spot. It didn't make it in the center. Okay, so it's not necessarily centering it automatically. So let's not worry about that right now. You can click on it and drag it into the center if you want, which is fine. When you're done typing your text, click off and then click on. Click off and then click on. You could drag it in the center like I did as well by moving it around. Okay, so now I want to style it. Change the color maybe. want to change the font and do things like that. So to do that, you'll notice there is a bunch of little icons in the upper right corner, and I'm not talking the very top one, the kind of the second row here. See these icons up here? These icons will change according to what you have selected on the screen. The one we primarily use the most is this one called the inspector. It's the one that looks like a little arrow pointing down with a line in it. It's called the inspector. If you click on that, it'll then give you resources for what you have selected. Depending on if you have a photo selected, it'll be a little bit different. Text, you'll notice right now, it has text information. What is the text? Again, that's that one right there. I have the text selected, make sure it's selected, and you'll see it right here. You got text, it says plain, it has the words in there, Nathan Explosion, it has font, right now it's System 17 I meant. This is good. You'll see also dynamic type. It's not checked right now, but what that'll do is it'll change the text according to the size of the screen, so things like that. So we'll learn a little bit more about dynamic type and how important it is to when we're doing, apps. Right now, we're just doing something plain, so I'm not going to really worry about it. You can do the center align if you want. It's right there. If I click the center align right here, it doesn't do anything. It just says align the text to the center, so that if you retype it, it's going to type from the center out. Behavior, you don't have to worry about that. And everything else we can leave alone. Here's the color if you wanted to make it a little bit different color. I can click on that right there. It gives you a color box. This is the normal color box like any other thing. You can go, it's not changing, is it? Why is it not changing? Oh, that's the highlight color. I'm sorry. Highlight color. Where is my... Oh, here's the color. It's up here next to where the text is right there. This is the color. Highlight color is when you touch it. There, it's like almost web design, right? Where you have a down and an up kind of thing, right? That's the highlight color. So here we go. Now I can change the color there. It was this one right here, this box. And then, of course, there is the font option here. If we click on there, you'll see there's a whole bunch of fonts. In the font option, you'll notice there's options for body, headline, subhead, title. These are all going to be dynamic fonts that you're going to be using later on. When we get to more programming, you'll be dealing with that. Don't worry about it. I'm going to leave the default. Okay, let's bring a picture in. So we have a text right there. Oh, we didn't change the background color, did we? We were going to do that. Do you remember that discussion? How do we change the background color? Well, here's what you need to do is you want to deselect the text. And notice the first thing you do, once you deselect the text, this menu over here changed. Do you see it change? See it change? And so, sorry. What's this? Sorry. I can't turn it off. My iPad rings when that happens. It's Jean. She should know that I'm in class. Don't you think so? Right? Jean's the other teacher. I'm sorry. She should know where I'm at. So in this case, notice when I click on that the big white area, it's the background. See the options over here? Now this is the options for the background. Notice it says background right there. You want to change the background color? It's right here. Click on that. You could change the background color if you want. You want a black app, white app, purple. Woo, look at that. You can do whatever color you want. Nathan Explosion, I'm going to do a little yellow. And I don't want it so bright. There's an opacity. See how the opacity? So everything's going to have an opacity as well. Kind of like you have an opacity in Photoshop, right? You put some text on the screen, you want it to blend with something underneath it. You can do that. Jesus Christ. Gene, I'm in class. Hello? Yes? Okay, whatever. Ciao. Jeez. Okay, sorry. She kept doing it, didn't she? Okay, so you see how to do the color background, right? Okay. There's other things in there. Let's not worry about it. The most important thing I wanted to show you is just how to change the color background. It's right there. Okay, let's do a picture. First thing we're going to do is bring our pictures into the program. To bring our pictures, where we're going to store them. What's it called over here? What's it called? Assets, right? So now this is a very visual program. I can drag from the operating system into this box over here. So I'm going to click on Assets. Now you could go and file an import. There is an import option to bring your pictures in. I believe so. I have to think about that. Add files. See it right here? But another way to add files is not necessarily to do that. What I could do is I could actually move my window down. See how I'm moving my window around? Just move it around till I find my pictures that are here. Here's all my images. And I could just drag them from the operating system. See how I'm moving windows around into this window right here and release my mouse. So you could either notice how the operating system, the Mac operating, you could just drag them. See how I move the window around? I could come out here, grab whatever I want. I could grab this song. If I want this music, drag it right into this window. It'll then become part of that. Okay, so it's a very visual dragging. If you don't want to drag like that or you can't move the window, again, you go under File, Add Files right here. It'll go to the operating system, shift click on all your pictures and bring them all in at the same time. Again, it's under File, Add. Notice how, and I think I've explained this to you, those of you in interface design as well as some of the other classes, that of course there's 3 different graphics for each image. And the reason why there's 3 different graphics is because of the different screen resolutions. Right? The 1X is normally for the iPhone 5 or 4 or something like that, where the 2X would be for 6, 7, 8, and 3X would be for the iPhone X, something like that. I can't even remember now, but that's why there's 3 different versions when you bring it in there. Right now we're just building a basic app, so I'm not worried about that right now. But if I was making a commercial app, I'm selling things out there, and I want people, and I'm going to do it properly, you would make different images for each one of your graphics, and you would put it in there for each resolution. Remember, in Sketch as well as in Photoshop, you can export out those different sizes. It'll do it automatically for you. So you don't really have to worry about that. The software can do that for you. Okay, let's put our picture on. Again, I was under Assets. Where do you think we're going to go next? Storyboard, right? Go back to Storyboard, and here's our screen again. There it is. Our text is on the screen, Nathan Explosion, and we need to put a box for the image. So again, click on where it says Main Storyboard. We're going to put a box for an image. So just like we had a label for the title, right? Just like we had a label for the title, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to type in image. So I'm going to go down here where it said label before. Remember the search box in the lower corner? Search box in the lower right corner. Type in image. Notice it comes up with a box. It's called the image viewer. That image viewer is the box for your photo. Okay, you can't just slap a photo out there. You need to have a box to put the photo in. So we go down here, you can put an animation in there. The animation is not that hard to do. Basically, you make a series of images and you put them in the box and it just cycles through them. Now, if you want to slow down and speed up the animation, you got to program it. You can do that. You go play, pause it, and whatever. And we learned to do that in the music lesson. In the music lesson, I teach you to do animation. We have like speakers going like this, with sound coming out of the speakers, and you'll see how to slow down the animation or speed it up using this. But let's just grab our image viewer and put it in the middle of the screen. And I'm just going to drag it there. Okay, it's just a box. It's called Image Viewer. We drag it out there. Now it doesn't really have any size. It has like some generic size. You could grab little square, little white, things around the outside and make them bigger, make them smaller. That box right there is, like I was saying, that you're going to have to determine what is the ratio of the box. If you don't mind this kind of ratio like this, it's fine. If you want a square person, I would make it square. Because we could get the picture to fit to the box, or we can make the box fit the picture. There's a whole bunch of different options. You need to make the decision. Since this is a portrait of somebody, I might change it to be a little bit more square. You'll notice as you drag, you'll see it has a W and an H, a width and height. Do you see how I'm dragging it? And I'm just going to make it kind of square like that. Everybody got a box? Okay, we're gonna put a picture in the box. To put a picture in the box, again, make sure you have the little arrow pointing down with the arrow. Notice the first option over there says image. See the box is selected. See it says image up there. I'm going to go choose one of my pictures of my great person, whoever you want. So I'm going to go over there. There's a little arrow that points down. See the little arrow that points down all the way over here? I can click on that and you can choose the person you want. Notice how it scales the picture to fit the box. We will adjust that. So what it's doing is there's an option right now. It says scale to fill. So again, choose the image. It should give you a list of all the images in your assets box. You see where it says content node scale to fill right there? Okay, so go and look at the different options. This is how you can crop your pictures. Go see where it says scale to fill? Click on that. Aspect fill, try that. Oh, what that did was it made the image fit the box, and of course there's stuff on top and bottom. Do you see that? Because it's taking something that's not in the same ratio. Do another one. Aspect fill. It made the picture expand outside the box area because the picture was bigger than the box area. Did you make sense? So just try those. You just kind of redraw is kind of the same as the first one. Center, top, bottom, left, right, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. There's all kinds of ways to adjust your picture. The one I'm going to use is actually aspect fill, and then I'm going to cut the edges out by using, there's a box option to clip to bounds. See it right here, clip to bounds. So the one I'm going to use is called aspect fill. What that does is it makes the picture not the ratio it's on, but it's going to crop it. So notice right now you'll see here's my box right here, but I have this extra junk right here, right? Because it's aspect fill. It's filling the height and width, but it has extra stuff on the outside. But if you do right here, it's just clip to bounds. It'll chop this off like you cropped it, and it'll leave it in the center. So again, it's right here, clip to bounds right here, and there we go. So pictures, I have a whole bunch of different options and so on. Yes?
Can you show how to upload the pictures on the...
I'll put them in the assets window.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have them on your computer. To put the pictures in, you go to the assets window, and then to import them, you go under file, or I'm sorry, click in this window right here. Click in this window. You can go under file, add files right there. Add files, and then go and find one on your computer, wherever it's at. I don't know. You have something on your desktop? There, Safari poster. There we go. I can add that. Oh, that didn't add? Where did it go? Okay, I dragged, didn't I? Oh, here it is. It put it here, didn't it? Oh, I don't want it there. I want it in there. No? Okay. Nope. Get in there. Nope. Okay, I didn't do it right then. I'm used to just dragging. I want to have it in this window. There we go. I dragged it from there into this window. Somehow it needs to be in this window assets somehow. I imported it, put it there. I thought by saying file add, it would add it here, but it didn't. Let me see. Hold on. The other way I did it was I moved the window around, right? I moved the window around, and I went and found an image, and I dragged it in like that. Did you see that? So you could do it through the operating system by just clicking and dragging into this assets window. I don't know why I put it here. I think I need to figure that out. Let's not worry about that right now. Did you get a picture in?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you got your picture? You got your name? Oh, okay. Whoosh. Wow. Coming along. Okay, here comes the hard part, the text. Okay, we need to have our text for our person. Oh, we gotta put a button on too, right? We gotta put a button to go on our screen. Let's do the button and then we'll put the text on. Let's put a button on there. To put a button on, I'm gonna go, remember where it said image before? Let's put in the word button, B-U-T-T-O-N. So find the one that says button, again, button, and I'm gonna put it right underneath his text there. I'm gonna kind of put it right there, right underneath. And I'm gonna put in see more photos. So again, type in button down there, drag the button onto the screen, and it'll say see more photos. If you want a background color to your button so it looks more like a button, right? Because right now it's just some text. It doesn't necessarily look like something you might touch, right? You could give this a background color. And it would be underneath. Buttons have different options than the text does, than the label does. And down here, the background is this one. It's scroll down. See, there's a scroll bar over here. Now that I have the button selected, there is a scroll bar here. Go down to where it says background right here. See where it says background? And you click on that and you can give it a color. So it looks more like a button, right? Something that somebody would click on. Oof, look at the ugly colors I'm using today, baby. Look at that. Woo! Love it. Ugly colors. Pink. Blue and pink.
Still lost on
There, and put a button under there. So I'm on the button down there. Hit the button. And drag it in the center there. And have a, mine says see more photos. Okay, everybody got that so far? Ready to move on? Okay, well, let's test it first. Whoosh. We haven't done any alignment or anything right now. So whoosh. When we test it, we don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, let's try it. Let's see what happens if we test it. So I'm going to save my file in case it blows up. So I'm going to go under File, Save. To test it, you'll notice there's either this little arrow that's in the upper corner here, or you can go underneath where it says Product and say Run. Product Run. And it's going to go and do what's called the simulator. It will bring up another application called the simulator. And it will, hopefully, might take a minute. The simulator takes time. Oh, and here it is. And it doesn't fit on my screen quite, but it looks like a phone. See it right here? And it makes it look like a phone, and you can see, whoo, my background color didn't turn out very nice, did it? Because I used an opacity. The opacity is basically blending it with the black. It's assuming that you have a black screen, so it's taking that yellow that I had, which I gave an opacity to, and it's blending it to the black that's in the background. That's why. Yes?
It doesn't look like it's like centered.
No, that's what I'm saying. You're not gonna. We haven't given it any position. That's why it's not centered.
Okay.
We've given it no constraints, no position. We just randomly threw the things on there. You have to give it some constraints and some size and all that stuff in order to do what it's going to do. We haven't done that at all yet. Let's rotate it in the simulator. You can rotate. If you go underneath hardware, you can say rotate left or right. Look at that. Hey, it's not in the center at all there. Okay, because we haven't given it any, it doesn't know where to put it. The program needs position and constraints. Yes?
This is the only thing it kind of knows is to keep all the assets that you put on there kind of together in the same general aspect that you put them in.
It put them next to each other. It's putting it has an XY coordinate from, since I haven't given it anything, it's using an XY coordinate from the upper left corner of the screen. Notice how it's on this side over here, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of the way it looked when I was building it, right? So it's just using whatever default when I dragged it out there. That's why. So just keep in mind when you're building things, you need to give them positions of where they're at. That's a hard concept to get through. It's going to take you time to get that. It's really hard. It's not easy. And even when I was in Apple last fall, remember I went to Apple and I was talking to them about teaching this and things like that. They were just like, I said, the hardest thing I know the students are going to be is how to do that. And they said, yeah, we know. Because it's the hardest thing is trying to get the position. Because it's a floating, too many different size screens. But it's got to be better than the way it used to be, because the way it used to be, you would have to program the position. It was really hard. They got a little bit better now. So I'm going to quit the simulator. I just wanted to show you, again, to quit the simulator, you go under Simulate, Quit Simulator, and there it is. Okay, so a couple things. My background looked like crap. So if I'm going to fix my background, I could, again, click out here on the big yellow area where it says background. I have over here, I think I put an opacity. There it is. Yeah, we don't want that. We can, there we go. That would be better. The opacity on the background doesn't work because it's taking that and blending it to the background. So I fixed that. Okay, that just didn't look right. Let's not worry about the text right now. Let's do the position right now, and then we'll click the button and see more text. I don't think my brain can handle the box of text right this moment. So I'm still sick. Dying here. Let's just accomplish what we can. First, let's fix the position. First thing we're going to do is say, hey, do I want all this to be in the center? Okay, do I want it to be in the center? So that it's always in the center of the screen. That's an easy thing to do. So you're going to have these things down here. These are going to be your best friend or your worst enemy. These things down here. These are how you position things. This one is how you align things. And this is how you constrain things to the, this is alignment and constrainment. And then this will fix it. So these are, and this is like a fixie button. Say fix my, if there's a problem. Then this one is going to be the stacked view. Remember we talked about grouping things in the table view and things? This will be your best friend because you can then group things, right? You've been in Illustrator, guys, and Photoshop and things like that. You can group things together. Hey, that's what this thing does. I can grab all three of these pieces and group them together and then align them to the center. In fact, if I was building this, that's how I would do it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to make mistakes, cause problems. But in the long run, though, you need to learn all the problems, right? Again, probably the easiest way to keep this layout look the way I want, this is how I probably would do it. I would group them together using this thing, which allows you to group things together. Then I would use these to align that group. But we're not going to do that. We're going to make mistakes. Let's do one thing at a time. First thing I'm going to do is grab the nation explosion right there, and I'm going to align that to the center. To align that to the center, I'm going to use the one with the 2 bar. It looks like a bar chart, right? Do you see the one that looks like a bar chart? A line, it says, align. We click on that. First thing you see at the very bottom here is you see horizontal container, vertical container. If I want it to be horizontally in the center of the screen, all I have to do is check this box right here and add one constraint. So I'm going to check this box and I say add one constraint. If I check this one vertical, where do you think it's going to put it? It's going to move it down and put it in the center, which would be right around here. Okay, so right there, and notice it has a blue line that is now telling you, hey, this is going to be in the center. If I test in the simulator right now, what do you think it'll happen? Uh-oh, there's some red lines around it. Red is bad. Whenever you see red, when you're doing these things, when you're working with the alignment, when you see things that are red, it usually means there's a problem. Yellow means something's misaligned, but it's not necessarily a problem. Blue is good. Why is it giving me a red box? We just told it to be a center. Well, we didn't tell it vertically, so it's confused. It doesn't know where vertically you want. Okay? And it's starting to give you an error message because it doesn't know how big to make the box. So there's two things for every object you have. You have how big is the object and where is it located. Those are the two things you need to deal with when you're doing these things. So let's fix the vertical one. So I'm going to go back to that one, that same box. I still have it selected. I'm going to go back to that one. This one right here. And where it says vertical container, I'm not going to check that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the pull-down menu and say use current value. What that's going to do, so again, I went back to the same box. You don't have to, we already gave it horizontal, you don't have to worry about it. But for the vertical, you'll notice there's a pull-down menu. What that does is it's going to say, hey, there's an XY coordinate of where that is in space. Let's use that. So if you click on that, it's going to then say add one constraint. Oh, there's a blue line that goes across now. Notice how my red error message is not there anymore. Notice the box is gone. So what we've just told it is that now it knows where it's at. It says, hey, I know where I'm at. I know where I need to be. So let's simulate it now. Let's try the simulator again. If I simulate it now, again, it's under product run. No, I don't think it's. And notice how it's still rotated from the last one. I don't know if it saves automatically. That's a good question. Uh-oh. It's still rotated kind of wrong, but let's rotate it. The reason why it's like this is because we told it to be that orientation from the beginning. But there we go. And then let's rotate it again. And then, oh, where's my text? I can't even see it. Rotate it again. It has a bunch of problems. Lots of problems. Lots of problems. But if we look at it this way, actually the text is in the right spot. It's these things that are just kind of floating out there because they don't know where they need to be. They're kind of just floating. The text is actually in the right spot. It's these things that are floating and they don't know where to be. Okay, so there's a couple things we could do. This is almost, think of you've probably hopefully done a little bit of HTML and CSS. It's kind of like this. I can align the picture and the button to the text and say, hey, my space is aligned to that object. Or you could take the picture and the button and align it to the screen. So there are a couple different ways you can go about it. And the reason why you do that is so that, am I scaling and aligning to the screen, or am I scaling and aligning to another object on there? And so there's a whole bunch of different ways of doing that. There's no right or wrong way. There's just best practices. So I'm going to quit the simulator. You can see the problems you have. Let's just grab these two. I'm going to grab both of them by using the Shift key. And so now I have two objects, and I can apply alignment to two things at the same time. Two things at the same time. So I use the Shift key to select both of those.
Why you don't select the first one?
Because that already has a position. I don't want to mess with that one. It's okay. I want to align these two where they are in space. So I shift clicked on them. Again, let's go to the first one right here, this one right here, and let's go, use current canvas values, maybe. Let's try that. And let us try this one. Use current canvas values again. I'm going to say, hey, where you're at right now looks pretty good. Why don't you use that? Notice how it says multiple in this window right here. Multiple. Oh, this one's not changing to multiple, is it? This one says multiple.
It's up and down that are
Oh, horizontal is right. Yeah, horizontal's all at 0 anyways. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Notice how it says add 4 constraints, and the reason why is I have 2 objects, and I have a horizontal and vertical, so that's why. So again, vertical container, horizontal container, add 4 constraints. And uh-oh, what happened to my photo? It got squished. Okay, now another problem comes up. As soon as you add the position, it doesn't know what to do with the photo now. The photo says, well, you know, you told me to be in vertical and you told me to be horizontal, but I don't know how big I should be. Okay, it doesn't know how big it should be. If you wanted to go back to the size of what you want, this is where the thing called, this one comes in. These are called constraints. Not position, these are constraints. That's going to add even a little more problems, but let's try it. If I go and I'm going to deselect, because I don't want the button in this case, I only want to work with the photo itself. So I'm going to click on the photo. Once I click on the photo, I'm going to go to this box right here, the one that says add new constraints. It's not the alignment one, it's the one next to it. Add new constraints. Inside here is going to be kind of, this is a very important window and a very confusing window. But let's just see if we can figure it out for a moment. The first box up all the way at the very top, what that is telling you is, where am I going to be in space? Well, wouldn't it be telling you where we used to be in space? Well, not necessarily. We kind of told it horizontal and vertical, but we didn't tell it how to interact with other objects. What that top thing is right there is, how do I interact with what's next to me? What's going to be right? Right? What's going to be left? What's going to be top? What's going to be bottom? If there's an object underneath me, how far away is it? Why is it going all the way to 391? Well, it's going all the way to the bottom of the screen. Top 5.5, well, it's going up to the top. Actually, it's saying, hey, do you want to align this to Mason explosion, the text that's above? So these numbers are being calculated for you automatically. And so this one's actually saying, hey, do you want to align this picture to be 5.5 pixels away, or whatever that means? I don't even think about what the numbers are meaning, but I guess they're pixels away from that text top. Let's not even worry about that. What's more important to me right now, we'll get to that, is the size. How big is my box right here, right? Do I want to go back to what it was? It already has the default size. Remember the size we made it when we put it on there? Just click on there. I'm going to click the check boxes there. Boom, boom, and add 2 constraints. Notice it didn't really change in size. Yes? If you want to delete constraints, there's a couple ways. There's a way down here where it says reset to clear constraints, is in the lower corner here. Or you can go over here. All the constraints are being built up here, and you'll be able to remove and add some over here as well. We haven't talked about this navigation. Now, visually, it doesn't seem, hey, did it go back in size? It didn't really go back in size, but how about this? How about we save and let's preview again. Let's do the preview. Let's run it again. Let's see what happens when we run it. Let's see what happens when we run it. Oh, it's about the same size of the screen. It looks like it visually, right? Okay, how about if we rotate it? Whoosh. Look at that. It's cut off the top. Let's rotate it again. Oh, there you go. So it's still not doing what I want. I was hoping it would change in size. Let me see if I could scale it down. I thought the constraint, oh, look at that. Now I got yellow ones. Look at that. Wow. Did I tell you it was going to be hard? Yeah, it's not easy. Let's undo that. I'm gonna leave it like it is. Let me move my my button down a little bit. I'm gonna move it down a little bit. Uh-oh, what happened? I moved the button down. Look at that. I got a yellow thing now. I have a yellow thing. What did I say yellow was? Bad or good?
Better. It's better than bad.
It's not bad. What it is it's telling you there's a problem here, but it's not going to cause the program to blow up. One of the problems with the red is the red might crash your app. But yellow is not going to crash your app. What the yellow is saying is, hey, this is visually it should be here. Did you see that? Visually it should be there, but you just moved it. When you test it, it's going to put it back up there. That's what it's going to do. So how to fix that? Well, the easiest way to fix that would be to get rid of the original position and put the new position in there. Okay. Here's a quick way of doing that without having to delete the old one and put the new one in there. There is an option that is underneath the little triangle, the one that's all the way over here. Do you see the one that's all the way in the very lower right corner here? See where my cursor's flashing? Way down here, see the little triangle one, the very far one right there. If you click on that, that's kind of like the fixie button. See how there's things like update constraints, reset to suggested constraints, clear constraints, update constraints, reset to suggested constraints, and clear. Look, it's in there twice. But this is all views, and this is what you have selected. So what we want to do is we want to take the one that's selected, and we want to reset to suggested constraint. And that kind of fixes it. It didn't really change the lines, but I think it just, sort of said, hey, let's get rid of all these other things, and let's just make it right. How about that? Okay, let's make our second screen, and we'll link it up, and then we'll be done.
The photos still have a problem, right?
Yeah, I ain't gonna worry about it right now. Let's not worry about that photo problem. Okay, so we need to make a second screen for our photos. We only have a little bit of time left. So I'm gonna make a second screen here. Let's not worry about it. It's gonna take a long time to get the layout to be right. When we get to table view, it would be much easier. Sorry to say. I want you to go through the hell that this is right now. Okay, so let's make another screen. So basically how you make a second screen is you use the view controller. You drag a view controller out, and you'll see it like this. Visually, you have one screen like this one, and you have another one like that one. We'll put some pictures on there, and then we'll link them together, and we'll be done for the day. Okay, then you should go back and start your programming again. That's very important. So here we go. Again, if you go over here, I'm going to type in view controller. Well, it probably popped up. You see, if you go down here again to the search box in the lower corner, type in view. View down here. Should come up with one that says view controller. Do you see it right here? We're going to drag it out kind of to the right of that one. Just take this and drag it out, and it's gonna get kind of over top. You can click on it and move it around. If you click on it up here in the top box, you can move it around. See that? So just drag it out and move it around. You can also duplicate the view controller so that your background color and all the assets come over, but then you're bringing a bunch of junk over you might not want. You can duplicate this and have a little screen. Or you can go and drag it in. Now right now, let me point out some programming concepts for a moment. Whenever you have multiple view controllers like this, multiple screens, usually what you'll do is you'll have one. Remember I talked about the view controller Swift up there, and I said, oh, most of the programming is going to go in that, right? Well, in certain aspects, we might even have a new view controller programming for just this screen. Because maybe this screen's doing stuff that this one isn't doing, and this screen's doing stuff that this one isn't doing, as far as programming-wise. You would duplicate the view controller or make a new one and then have that one associated with this one and then have this one associated with that one. What I'm trying to say is in some aspects you will have programming that is for one window and programming for the other window. That way it's modular. You don't have one big. It's not necessary, but it helps organize it. We'll be doing that in the future. Just putting that out now. Okay, let's put a back button on, and then we'll put our grid of pictures. So again, button is here, button, and I'm going to drag button out. I'm going to kind of put it towards the top, and I'm going to call that back, the famous back button, and we could color that if you want. Next, I'm going to put image on the screen. So I'm going to type in image. And I'm going to put an image box out there. And I'm going to kind of make it a square. So again, remember, image viewer, drag that out. We got a button, image viewer. Next, we could duplicate this by holding down the Option key, and I'm going to make a grid of 6 pictures. So to make a grid, I have this image viewer selected. I'm going to hold down Option, click and drag, makes another one. Notice how things are aligning as you're moving them across. Then I'm also going to select both of these, and I'm going to use Option, click and drag down. So again, I'm selecting them, options on the keyboard. You have to hold on Option, click and drag. Just like in Photoshop and Illustrator, we made a grid. Option, you've got to use 2 hands for this. Option, click and drag. Option, click and drag. You can make a grid. And then put pictures in each one. I'm going to put a picture in each one. So, different picture in each one. So, click. Remember up here where it says image, when you click on a picture, you should have image up here. You can grab. Oh, that's a poster. That's not a Lacing Explosion. Oops, wrong one. I keep using the same one. So I just put them in there. Again, remember, you could crop them. I'm not even going to mess with that. It's more important that we get how to go from one screen to the other. But you remember my different options about cropping to the side? Remember clipping to bounds, right? Do you remember that? So you can scale it, clip the bounds. Remember scale to fill? I'm just going to leave everything default right here. So a lot of things we'll do will be duplicating. Again, make sure your Option, click and drag will be duplicated. Okay, so now we need to connect these 2 screens together. So when the person touches the see more pictures, it goes to this screen, and when they hit the back button, it goes back to the first screen. Very simple app. Very, very simple. Again, it's going to be a drag and drop. There's a lot of things that are drag and drop. Like if I want to add some programming to something, I actually will be dragging it from the screen into the programming window, the view controller. You give it an outlet, what's called an outlet. Yeah.
How do you drag photos from the assets to the
You don't. What's that? You don't drag it. You click on the box. Image is up there. You choose the image you want. Okay, let's go from screen to screen. And then think so, but I can't figure that right now. There might be a way. I just don't know if from my head. Okay, let's get the screens to go back and forth. So to get to go when the person touches this, we want to go to this screen, and when they touch the back button, it goes to the screen. Simple, simple, simple. We're going to use the Option key. Here we go. So I'm going to click on my See More Photos. I'm going to hold down Option on the keyboard, and I'm going to drag to this window over here. Oh, no, I didn't want to do it. No, not Option. What am I doing here? Control? No, it's not Control. Option?
I think you have to right mouse click.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, right click and drag. Oh, these computers have not had the right click connected, so we have to hold the Control key. Sorry, Control click. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's the mice in this room have not been configured for a right mouse click. Normally, I would use right mouse click from one to the others, but the computers are not configured for that. So hold the Control key down. My left hand's holding the Control key down. My right hand's using the left mouse and dragging. Do you see that little blue line? Let your finger up. It's going to ask you for a segue. Remember I talked about how it's called a segue. All I'm going to do is say show. A little bit later, we'll talk about how to do the wipe. There's different transitions. We call them in video. We call them transitions and stuff. But there's different ones you can choose. For right now, let's just say show. And then for the back button, it's the same. I'm going to click the back button. I'm going to hold down the Control key, and I'm going to click on this window over here. See how I just click and drag? And I'm going to say show. And that's it. That's all you need to do to connect them.
So my Option works, but my Control doesn't. So if the mouse is, one or the other will work, but they both don't work?
I don't know. You're saying that.
I can do Option right mouse click. It doesn't.
Okay, let's test it now. The alignment's not going to be right. But the important thing is you see the concepts. Oh, I got 2 See More Photos, don't I? Whoosh. I got 2 See More Photos, but do you see that? Click on one, goes to one. And look, I'm missing a picture too. Look at that. Whoosh. I got 2 buttons, and I'm missing a picture. The reason why I'm missing a picture is because it was an animated GIF, and it didn't work. Animated GIFs don't work. This one was an animated GIF. I downloaded an animated GIF. Animated GIFs won't work in your app. If you want to do animation, you have to program it for you. No, you would have to use there is a video option. You would have to drag that out. Just like there was a window for, and then the map, there's a map over there. There's all kinds of, all these little things are over there. Music, you can type in audio down there, get an audio player, and so on. The reason why this one's not showing is if you want a vector from Illustrator, those of you who like Illustrator, we all love Illustrator, right? Remember, there's Illustrator class after this one today. All sign up. You haven't learned Illustrator yet. You should. You save it as PDF. Not SVG, not Illustrator. You can bring Illustrator assets in, but they need to be a PDF. Make sure you shrink the window down too to fit the artwork, right? Shrink the window down to the right size, save it as PDF. Then you import it in here and it works. You just drag it out like any asset, like you did with the picture. Right? The picture. You put an image in there, then you choose the image. I believe that's how you do PDF. I didn't think about that for a moment. I believe so. Okay, so I don't know. That was just a quick demo. Okay, so you should work on your programming for the rest of the class. Let me stop this.